Welcome back, everybody, once again. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Josh Allen, a.k.a. Lord, joined once again at the caster desk by Jared Colston, a.k.a. VHell. Hope you enjoyed that little interview there with Brian Halinka, lead PvP designer on World of Warcraft. I do have to, just for a second, I have to put my community manager hat on, which it looks the same, it's just my hair. But I have to put my community manager hat on for a second and say, keep in mind that everything he discussed is in development. Things may change and so on and so forth. But taking that hat back off again, I'm pretty excited. that's really, really exciting stuff coming out of that. Really, really glad that he had the opportunity to stop by here today and talk with us a little bit about the PvP design in the future.
Yeah, at first I thought you were going to say, keep in mind, everything he mentioned is secret, don't tell anyone. I was like, oh no, we just showed it on stream. Yeah. No, but I'm so excited that, that you guys have heard about this. I know that after Gamescom, there was a couple people that were worried about when Tom mentioned no more PvP gear, and people were like, wait, does that mean I have to go slay dragons again?
Yeah.
Is this 60 all over again? So I'm glad that he was able to get those points out to you guys. First time I've seen Twitch chat be positive at that level of positivity in a long time. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at the brackets really quick to show where we are standing now at this point. So our round of 8 went out. Luminosity was able to take out GOML 2-0, and they'll be facing off against Dream Team, who beat Last Minute in 2-1. Those were some super close. That was a super close series between Luminosity and Dream Team. So that will be our next match, is Luminosity versus Dream Team. And then coming up, Carlos Bandidos was able to take Smell of GG 2-0. And then World of Warcats was able to knock out Method 2-0 as well. So we will have Carlos's Bandidos, excuse me, versus World of Warcats coming up in the near future as well. And then, of course, after that, we will have to play for our third place match, because whoever wins these next 2 semifinal matches that we're about to see, they will qualify. The winner of these next 2 matches qualifies. After that, the loser of these 2 matches, the losing teams of these 2 matches, will still have a chance to qualify by facing off against each other to get into that third place match, because we are qualifying 3 teams from this cup. So there are still some very, very epic matches to come. And of course, all of these will be best of 5s as well. So a few more games, a lot more epic matches. And we're going to see those again here very, very shortly. But first, let's go ahead and pop over to Bajira at the analyst station so he can give us the lowdown on Luminosity versus Dream Team.
All right, guys. So one thing to note before we break down the actual comps is that in this round, even though each team is definitely going to be going for that win, if they do end up losing, they still have a chance to qualify for the Americas Regionals. The only real stickler there is that they have to battle their way through for that third place spot. That being said, if they win this match, they are clear. They are good to go. They've solidified that either first or second place. And even though that match, doesn't necessarily affect their ability to go to regionals or not, they're still going to be playing that, with all they've got. That being said, this matchup once again is going to be Luminosity, who last time ended up playing LSD3, into Dream Team, which is RMD, that ended up beating an LSD3. So my big question leading into this match is, seeing that Dream Team is proficient and capable of taking down a very, very powerful LSD3 team, you think they're going to run that LSD3 comp? My question is, maybe they'll switch it up and run Turbo. What really comes down to is the team confidence. Do they have confidence in themselves with their LSD3 play, or are they going to switch up to Turbo? Because Turbo, once again, in tournaments, we've seen Turbo struggle against RMD. RMD is a very, very strong team. RMD is the team that won the NA Online Qualifier Cup #2, Rise of Lasak. They tore through the entire tournament, running that RMD comp to great effectiveness, and we've seen already that Dream Team has what it takes to take out that LSD3. So can Turbo Cleave line up with that? We'll see. My guess, once again, is that if we do see an LSD3 lineup once more, it's going to be more of the same for Dream Team. They're going to be doing tons of damage to that Enhancement Shaman, trying to lock him down as much as possible, use as much control as possible on that Enhancement Shaman so he can't use his, grounding totems, tremor totems, off heals. All that's going to be locked down. Meanwhile, they're going to be pouring CC into the Resto Druid and the Warlock to limit the healing and additional damage they can do. That being said, if they can weather that storm, if they can hold on throughout all that CC that we know Dream Team is going to be putting on them, and then they can start pushing back, like we saw earlier, if they can endure and push back, go for the late game, let that Warlock damage consistently, truck that enemy team, you know, Dream Team might have their hands full. Either way, Luminosity Gaming, they are definitely tournament experienced players. They have multiple comps that they can run effectively, and even though we've seen Dream Team take out an LSD3 already in this tournament, it's going to be up to Luminosity to step up and show that they are, you know, capable of dealing with this RMD. The only way to find out for sure, though, is to throw it to the casters for this next game. Let's do this.
All right, thank you so much for those words of wisdom, Bajira. Really, really appreciate your insight, as always, and we will be getting into this match here very, very shortly. Just to sort of recap the compositions, they have declared their compositions at this point, and we will be getting into this match soon, like I said. But the Dream Team, of course, the first match is Nagrand Arena. Just as a reminder, it's Nagrand Arena. Dream Team will be playing that RMD comp again, Frost Mage, Combat Rogue, because he has been playing Combat, and Resto Druid. And Luminosity is actually going with a, I don't even know what the name for this is, Affliction Lock, Arms Warrior, Resto Druid.
Oh, that's WLD.
WLD. That's not a combination of 3 letters I've heard in quite some time.
Yeah, it's been a while. WLD had its time in the sun back in TBC for a very, very long time. That was such a tournament staple to see many teams show up with WLD being their comp of choice. It was a nice, solid comp to go over well, especially with how high damage Warrior Execute is. Add in the combination of Affliction, Warlock's dots. It's a great combination. So I'm glad to see that they picked this comp. I hope that they're confident in playing this, as we are going to be getting into the game in just a minute. Exciting to see that both these teams are really confident in their play. One of the things to note is that with Snuts playing that Rogue, right now Rogues can pretty much play all 3 specs if they want to in all these comps, and that's great to see. I know earlier in the expansion we saw a lot of combat because of how strong that Killing Spree was, but now that combat can be CC'd during Killing Spree, we saw a lot of players switch away from it. But then again, Snuts sticks to his guns. He likes that on-demand burst if he knows he can line up the CC with cross CC on the other members of the team. So we'll have to see if that's something that is going to help them out in this matchup.
Yep, and we will be getting into this game here very, very shortly for you guys. The gates will be opening in about 20 seconds. On the left side, we have Dream Team. That will be Snuts on the Rogue, Sam I Am on the Mage, and Shifties on the Resto Druid. And then on the other side, for Luminosity, we have Smexin on the Warrior, Maldiva on the Warlock, and Danny Carey on the Resto Druid for that side as well. So where the gates are just now opening, we'll have to see if the RMD of Dream Team can get themselves a good opener. It's a comp that's very, very reliant. Basically all rogue comps tend to be very reliant on their opener and making sure that they can get a good sap off at the start, just because of the way that stealth works. So here we go. Snuts moving in, looking like he wants to get that sap. He does manage to land one onto Maldiva, but they're not going off of that just yet. There, he manages to land the sap onto Danny Carey, finding him out of stealth, and they're immediately going to move in, get the Cyclone out onto Smexin as well. But Snuts is actually, looks like he's kind of lost. He's trying to chase after Maldiva, but they're having a little Benny Hill moment here, running in circles around the pillar. And wow, the fear actually lands on Snuts and pulls him back out of stealth.
Yeah, and as you can see, they're going to go on to Sam I Am with that recklessness from Smexin with the Blade Storm on top of it, doing a lot of damage, but Shifty doing a great job of getting those heals out. We see the Poly come out, and it is going to land onto Smexin for just a second. Gets dispelled instantly by Danny Carey. So we see the Adrenaline Rush coming from Snuts too. They're going to try to turn around the damage with a deep onto Danny. Let's see if they can follow anything up. Doesn't look like they can, but look at the damage onto the team of Dream Team. This is not looking good, as their opener is the most important part of this comp, and Luminosity has shut it down.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Sam I Am actually managed to, I don't think it was intentional, but he had a polymorph reflected onto him there, which actually healed him for a fair chunk, which maybe takes a little bit of the pressure off of Shifties. But yeah, definitely getting that opener flawless would have helped them tremendously, and instead they kind of got taken apart a little bit when that opener came out. They had such a great opportunity with the sap onto Danny Carey, pulling him out of stealth. Unfortunately, we're not able to deliver on that, and now they've kind of felt like they're on the back foot. However, they're now trying to turn it around onto Maldiva. They've got Danny Carey into a sap. Sam I Am gets low, though, has to use his ice block, but he cancels it early. They want to go after Maldiva right now. He's at 20% health. Danny Carey in that Cyclone. Is he going to be able to get anything off in time? Now into that kidney shot. Can he get heals onto him? Maldiva still taking so much damage. 1% health, and Maldiva goes down.
Wow, that was crazy. One of the things you can tell when players are really confident in their healer is that they'll play opposite on the opposite sides of the pillar, so that CC can't land onto Danny Carey as easy. Maldiva was doing that. Danny came out of CC to come over and toss heals out. He got a swift mend off, was able to toss a couple heals on. Shoutouts to Dream Team for turning that back around into their favor. That switch of momentum was great. We saw Sam I Am, trying to do some crowd control while Snuts was setting up for the kill onto Maldiva, and then the CC chain onto Danny. What a great job by Dream Team.
Yeah, definitely. I want to give shout-outs to Snuts' saps as well. He's been landing those saps at moments that are just crazy. Like, how does he get these saps? And there's always, every once in a while, there's going to be that brief window of time, either coming out of a CC or something like that, where the healer is out of combat for just a split second. And Snuts is obviously very aware of when those situations can be, and seems to be able to land those saps very, very well. So shout-outs to that as well. Let's take this back over to the analyst station to hear Bajira's breakdown on how that match turned out.
Look at him busting out the WLD. That is a comp that's on their roster, so they're bringing it out. Although Warrior and a Warlock do end up doing tons of damage together, the healer that we see most often with that comp is not a Resto Druid. Now, one of the things that's really neat to watch out for about Dream Team is how creative their openers are. So it may not have gone exactly the way they wanted to. Ultimately, Snuts did try to get onto Maldiva early, ended up getting feared out, disrupting the opener a little bit. But even before that happened, he did land a sweet sap out of stealth. And then one of the CC combos they did is pretty creative. It was the sap into a Cyclone while the Ring of Frost was being casted. So as soon as the Cyclone wore off, he dropped right into a Ring of Frost. So that was pretty nifty. I think that the Dream Team is actually pulling out some pretty sweet plays so far, and that's always great to see in general in World of Warcraft 3v3 Arena, but especially in a tournament setting. We said at the beginning of this broadcast that this is the final chance for anyone to qualify for the North American, or for the American regionals, America's regionals. And these guys are definitely pulling out all the stops, bringing out the sweetest plays in the tournament setting. So Dream Team playing also, a very strong composition in Rogue Mage Druid are playing that comp to its maximum efficiency. So using that against WLD maybe not the absolute strongest comp out there in the game. However, Smexen and Maldiva, known for their tremendous damage, were forcing a lot of pressure on Dream Team. So one of the things that I'm curious about leading into this next match is, will they make a comp switch? Obviously, going into the match, they decided to play WLD for a reason. They felt that that was their best chance to move forward, and I'm curious to see what they bring out next. Keep in mind that this is a best-of-5 series, so we've got a few games ahead of us for these teams to make their adjustments. And even if the adjustments don't really work the way they want them to, they've got another chance to qualify for regionals in that 3rd and 4th place match. Either way, guys, we're going to send them out into the arena. Let's see how this next match goes.
Thanks again, Bajira. And we do, in fact, have a comp switch for Luminosity. They have gone back to what they got them so far through this tournament so far, which is that LSD3 composition. Got Shamguards playing the Enhancement Shaman, Maldiva on the Warlock again, and of course Danny Carey swapping out that Warrior for the Enhancement Shaman on Shamguards. And he's obviously very, very good at playing that Enhancement Shaman. And we are, of course, here on Dalaran Arena as well as their map choice. So gonna have to see how this works out, but I do like these switches in this map choice as well.
Yeah, it is really smart. They didn't have as much success with Smexen as they would like. I thought it was a great match up until the point where they killed Maldiva, but going with their favorite comp, I would say at this point, this LSD3 is extremely strong. We're going to see Snuts almost taken out right there, as he is going to stay in stealth looking for his target. There we go. The Shroud is going to come out. See if they can get a sap onto Danny Carey, but he already gets oh no, looks like he's just barely going to get caught in that snap as we see the Adrenaline Rush. Oh, and the Icy Veins come out. Looks like they're going to try to put a lot of damage into Shamguards right from the start with that ring landing on Danny too, followed by a blind, which does have to be trinketed right away. That we do have the Shamanistic Rage going up on Shamguards, so he's going to be able to sit through a lot of this. The clone goes out onto Snuts, and that's what they really need to do to stop this pressure, is to shut Snuts down.
Yeah, and there was maybe a little bit of miscommunication from Dream Team there as well, because there was both the blind and the deep freeze going on to Danny Carey. He actually was able to trinket both of those with that trinket. So maybe not exactly what Dream Team was going for in that opener there. Still, it was a better opener than the last game, and they still managed to win. So we'll have to see if they can continue to keep up this pressure. Snuts, of course, getting himself constantly stuck over here. He's actually going to go ahead and use his killing spree there, but doesn't actually manage to make much happen with it, unfortunately. Shamguards gets that Iron Bark. He's still going to be totally fine. And Dream Team actually actually looking like they're kind of on the back foot here. Snuts with that evasion to stop the damage from Shamguards, but Shamguards isn't even hitting him at the moment, so it's maybe another little bit of a miscommunication or something. It's going to be just going to go ahead and wear off, and once again, Shamguard's moving back out here into the open. Looked like he wanted to switch back over onto Snuts, but he does get polymorphed, which is going to get dispelled. And Samiam actually getting really low over here, trying to get over here out of line of sight, wants to hold on to his block as much as possible, but Shifty's is super low too. Whoa. There, the block has to come out. Shifty's has to be able to heal himself instead of Samiam. I mean, he is going to cancel that block early and try to turn this back around once again. As
the Bark Skin is going to fade onto Shifty's, maybe they can go back onto him as he does toss. We see a bomb come down from Snuts. Looks like a defensive bomb as it looks like they're going to start CC chain on to Danny with that deep freeze, but no follow-up after that, as it looks like Shifty again is going to try to keep himself sitting way in the back line, healing up Snuts, because Snuts has to stay offensive right now, because look at the health bars of Luminosity. They can't just let him reset, so Snuts is just taking so much damage. Shifty is just trying to heal straight through it. No CC on him, as Snuts is forced to play extremely defensive right now, as Shamguards is going for cast, trying to bait that spell lock out, as he is going to get cheap shot off, as Samiam again in dangerously low, but trying to stay offensive, lands the CC. Look at this cross CC. The entire team of Luminosity right now is in crowd control. This is a setup that they had before that led to the kill of Maldiva. The half sheep goes out on to Danny, as Maldiva is still taking a bunch of damage, as we see the blind go out, which was trinketed right away by Danny.
Yeah. Luminosity doing a great job of keeping that CC under control and making sure that they don't get stuck back in that same position like you were saying that led to Maldiva dying last match. So they're just doing a great job of, as soon as that CC starts to come out, they just pull back, they play defensive, and this is a great map that allows them to do that. Danny Carey now into that deep freeze. Will they have a follow-up polymorph off of that? No, it did not actually land. He actually got locked on that. Now Snuts maybe get into a little bit of trouble here. He does still have his Cloak of Shadows available, and he's managed to hold on to it this long. He's going to want to hang onto it as long as he possibly can, just because he needs to make sure that he uses it at the right time. There, now the cloak is going to come out, possibly an offensive cloak. Actually looked like he was trying to stay a little bit offensive there, but now he's actually going to use it to go ahead and get himself a re-stealth, possibly.
Yeah, that cloak was mainly because Shifty's wasn't even in CC at that point. Knowing the CC was probably coming at him, maybe it was preemptive, but that may be a dangerous cloak overall, as it looks like they are going to put damage just straight into him yet again, and just forcing him back onto that pillar, or onto those boxes, is of course the Ascendant's coming out of Shamguard, so he is able to attack from range, so that LOS is extremely important. The Ring of Frost goes down, but doesn't land on anything, as Snuts is going to go onto Maldiva. This might be the last moment for Dream Team to turn it back around, because look at how healthy Luminosity is right now.
Yeah, Samiam dipped super low there as well, and he's actually used his second ice block already. He has 20 seconds left on his cold snap, so he will have that again relatively soon, but they do need to really make something happen here. Wow, Danny Carey actually shifting to bear right at the last second to avoid that polymorph as well, and Samiam not able to get that Ring of Frost down, so once again, they're going to have to pull back over here. Now he's popping the Icy Veins. He's trying to put out as much pressure as he can. Does land a short sheep onto Shamguards there, as well as the root to keep him away, and just playing defensively despite wanting to try to do some damage with that Icy Veins. But maybe they've just decided, you know what, it's not going to happen. We've wasted our cooldowns, and we need to not waste our lives in the process. So now they're going to once again manage to push back over here. But of course, Maldiva immediately ports out of there. And it looks like they're actually focusing entirely on Maldiva now. They were focusing on Shamguards before, but now they're just throwing Cyclones at him, trying to slow him down and focus on Maldiva, who may be an easier target for them.
Yeah, I think Shamguards is just the target of convenience at this point, because he's the one that is pushing up, purging off Hots onto Shifty, and just trying to just do disruption damage, not scoring the kill himself or anything. So let's see if that ends up, if Maldiva is going to be the target that they go on this whole game. As Danny Carey looking great right now. He had a great play earlier. Shifty went to sit down, jumped off the side, sat down and drank, was able to get a couple ticks off, but the Hurricane stopped him. So it was a great job. Danny Carey is just such a great healer. Excellent compliment to this team.
Yeah, definitely. He's also doing an amazing job at shifting into bear whenever those polymorphs are about to land, which may be also part of why they've started to focus on CCing Shamguards a little bit more. If you can't ever land the CC on the healer, you might as well land it on a DPS and slow down that pressure from them. Danny Carey's just been doing an awesome job being so aware of when those polymorphs are coming out, especially when they're onto him and switching into bear at the last second.
Yeah, Shamguards trinketed a Cyclone He got faked on the Cyclone and was Cyclone while he was hitting Shifties and chose to trinket there. I'm not sure if that was the greatest use of that trinket. He might be able to stay offensive on Snuts had he had it at this point, as it looks like, well, he had just going to do a ton of damage. Snuts is going to use his offensive trinket right now and is going to try to stay offensive. As you can see, Shifty jumping right into it to try to get the bash out, which does force the Sham Rage onto Shamguard, so that was a great play by Shifty right there.
Yeah, Killing Spree came out there as well, but now Sam-I-Am is getting pretty low. He does have his Ice Block once again available, and he's going to have to use it right there, down to 11% health. Shifty actually having to do a lot of work now to keep his team alive through this constant spread pressure from Luminosity. You see everyone on that team is getting so low. Snuts may actually go down right here, 5% health for just a second, does catch a heal. Now he's popping his Adrenaline Rush, trying to turn this back around onto Shamguard. Shamguard gets that Iron Bark immediately. Danny Carey into the deep and then in the Polymorph as well. They may be able to make some pressure happen here, and they have to. Like right now is their opportunity to get a kill. Snuts once again going ahead and using that offensive trinket to move back in here, but Sam-I-Am has to blink out of there because they're just taking so much damage, and Shifty is completely tapped on mana. He's got 4,000 mana to his name right now, doing his best to keep his team alive, but this isn't going to last much longer.
Yes, Danny Carey shifting into Cat to do damage to Snuts. As look at the health onto Dream Team. This does not look good. Shifty is completely tapped on mana as Shamguard takes the full blind, but I don't think there's nothing they can do at this point. No mana. They can just train Shifty at this point, but maybe that's going to buy him enough time that they can swap onto Shamguards. As Shifty is going to blink away, this could be the moment. If he can sit down and get a drink, it might help out, but Shamguards, look at that, instantly on top of him yet again as Snuts is going to bomb. They're going to try to do it right here. Shamguard's down to half right there, using the trinket onto the kidney instantly as the Shamanistic Rage comes out too, and that's just the end of it. At that point, Luminosity just stuck to their game plan. They ran Shifty out of mana, and that may have been a completely different game if that Hurricane didn't break Shifty out of stealth and drinking.
Yeah, definitely. Not getting quite that that drink off at that point could have made a big difference. Luminosity did a great job of dealing with the opener as well. I feel like there's a lot that could have gone better for Dream Team in that matchup. The Dream basically became a nightmare for them as that match went on, and eventually it got to the point where it literally is a nightmare. When you look up at the health bars, you see your entire team is at 10% and the other team is entirely at full health. Very, very difficult situation to deal with, and Luminosity just played that pitch perfect the entire way through.
They definitely did, and I did like that Dream Team decided to drop the bomb on, drop the smoke bomb onto Shamguards right at the end, because you have to go for something at that point. Shifty completely tapped on mana. Maybe all your cooldowns weren't lining up, which RMD likes to do, and maybe the mage didn't have all of his timers ready. You know, he didn't have his proc trinket. He didn't have 2 charges of Ice Nova at that point, but they still went for it, which was good. Unfortunately, they hadn't gotten a trinket or a Sham Rage out of Shamguards at that point.
Yeah, so that does mean that Dream Team and Luminosity will be tied 1-1. This is a best of 5, so we do have at least 2 more games ahead of us still before we can crown a victor. But for now, let's go over to the analyst station and find out what Bajira has to say about that last match.
What an absolutely awesome game that was. Luminosity showing that they're not done quite just yet, bringing it back to 1-1. So one of the interesting things about that match in particular is that Luminosity did decide to change their team comp up to something that they saw lose ultimately earlier in the tournament to the Dream Team. However, they did make the right map choice there, because if you noticed, the last LSD 3.0 also scored a win on that map against this very team, using a very, very similar strategy. Playing defensively, using the map to your advantage, never allowing the RMD to escape fully and to get a full reset. Now, one of the things that really worked out well for Luminosity was the fact that they rotated their cooldown so well that Shamguards was never actually without something useful, whether it was the Iron Bark or the Shamanistic Rage. By doing that, they allowed their Warlock to absolutely go to work once again in the health bars and grind the Dream Team into dust. Now, another thing that we notice is that Shifty does have a habit of getting a little parched. You can't blame him when there's Warlock damage like that going out. The Warlock damage dotting every member of the team, consistently seeing those health bars chunk down. Meanwhile, Shamguards, we know this guy. We know he loves that purge button. He's also dealing a fair amount of damage. Don't get me wrong, also dropping down great utility, using his defensive cooldowns perfectly. He's really playing well. You can't fault him for that. But the combination of AoE lock pressure plus taking off any sort of hots that might be present on Dream Team is definitely gonna put that RMD's healer on his back foot. He tried to get a drink, but in a really heads-up play by Danny Carey, he got that Hurricane, stopped the drink. He did get a few sips off, but that really only delayed the inevitable of LSD 3.0 grinding them down. So, wondering up to the next match, what are we going to see? What sort of map choice are we going to see? Once again, we did see the Dream Team pick a wider map, a more open map, a map where it's easier for them to escape if they need to, rebuild pressure, re-establish their cooldowns, get back into the game, and, you know, do what RMD does best. Put people in very, very long CC chains, unload crazy bursts, especially coming from that Combat Rogue and Frost Mage. That could be the strategy they employ here. I don't anticipate seeing a comp swap. I think they have faith in their RMD strategies, and I think they got what it takes to maybe pull themselves back in this tournament. So keep in mind, these games are best of 5, so we've got a few more matches, one way or the other, to watch, and I know they're going to be great ones. Let's throw it back to the casters and get this game going.
Hey guys, thanks so much once again, Bajira, for all of that insight and information, and you have predicted very well that they're going to go for a larger map. It is going to be Tolvaron Arena is Dream Team's map choice here. There's no comp swaps. They're still playing RMD for Dream Team, and they're still playing that LSD3 for Luminosity, that Lock Shaman, Enhancement Shaman, I should say, and Resto Druid for Luminosity. So we'll have to see if Luminosity, I think Bajira made a very, very good point that they played the map perfectly in that last match.
They did. They definitely did.
Yeah. Yeah, they just did so well keeping the team of Dream Team unable to really stick to them as long as they wanted. They're going to have a lot harder time doing that here on Tolvaron Arena with the much larger pillars and the much larger gap between pillars. So the gates are just about to open. We got 5 seconds here, and this match will be underway. This will be Game 3 between Dream Team and Luminosity. We're tied 1-1, and this is a best of 5, so no one's life is on the line here just yet, but obviously you don't want to lose matches in a tournament regardless of whether or not it's going to be the end of things. So we'll have to see if Dream Team can pull it out here on Tolvaron, or if Luminosity has found their stride and will be able to make that comeback.
All right, now we can see Snuts trying to get his setup that he wants. They're looking for Danny Carey, assuming that he may be in the starting area. Look at how offensive Shifty is going, though. This is quite interesting as he's going to sit in stealth. He's done this a couple matches so far to try to get the Cyclone out right from the start. Looks like he isn't going to land the Cyclone as they are going to hit Shifty a little bit, as we already have an Ascendance out from Shamguards, having to use that Shamanistic Rage also. The blind comes out onto Danny, which is trinketed instantly, as looks like they're not quite sure who they want to hit onto Dream Team quite yet, but Shamguards is definitely the target of choice for Dream Team.
Yeah, it looks like they may have settled on Snuts as their target for the time being, but they are doing a whole lot of swapping. That really wasn't the opener that Dream Team wanted, though. They got the sap onto Maldiva instead of Danny Carey. Ooh, Samayam getting so low there, 2% health with a ton of damage. Has to go ahead and use his Ice Block. Danny Carey now into that Deep Freeze. Are they going to get the Polymorph off of it? Yes, in fact, they will. So now Shifty can try and get some heals out over here. He's getting pretty low.
Look at his health. Yeah, this is dangerous for Shifty right now as he gets so low, having to Bark Skin. Got down to 50k health right there from that burst pressure from Shamguards. The Shamguards is going to swap back on and hit Snuts as he is going to play a little defensive, but look at the life totals on Dream Team right now compared to Luminosity. Samayam getting low yet again. He does have that second block available, however, because of Cold Snap, but Shifty also low. Snuts is low. He does get bashed. It looks like the poly was locked right there. Snuts down extremely low into that bash. Ends up dying. Wow, yeah. What a great map for Luminosity.
Yeah, that was... I'm honestly very surprised at how that match went. Like, normally an LSD, the Lock Shaman composition, normally you expect them to take it to a really long game. They want to do like the constant pressure, like we saw in the previous match on Dalaran. Apparently I can't pronounce words today. They usually want to see a really, really long match out of them. But this time they were like, no, we're just going to kill him. We'll just push our buttons and kill him. It's no problem. So that does mean that it's now 2-1 for Luminosity, coming back on Dream Team's map choice to take that win. That was impressive. I'm very impressed.
It definitely was. They really stopped that opener, which is what we needed to see. And that's the one thing that can stop this RMD team.
Yeah. So let's head back over to Bajira at the analyst station and hear his breakdown on that last match.
Wow, what a game. That was definitely not the little bit longer, more drawn out back and forth battle that we had been accustomed to seeing when we see RMD versus LSD 3.0. So a couple things that happened there that we can pick out right off the bat is that, one, as the casters mentioned, the RMD did not get the opener they wanted. They started with the sap on Maldiva and had some follow-up CC for Danny Carey, but it didn't quite stick the way it needed to. And even though they had the map pick, they decided to pick the bigger map, which is somewhat expected, but they never really used their full disengage ability. That may be partially due to the fact that the LSD didn't let them get away. And then another thing that we should look out for is Maldiva throwing some absolutely nasty haunts into the mage. When you saw him ice block the first time, he almost died right then and there. Those haunts are no joke. So watch out for Maldiva. If they don't CC this guy, he is gonna tear them up. Now the interesting thing about that is, although Maldiva did do top damage in that game, Shamgar's wasn't far behind. It really makes a huge difference in terms of the overall pace of the game if the RMD lands that opener or not. That perfect setup that we've seen from them so far has been devastating. However, when you're facing against absolutely top tier players like who we're seeing from Luminosity, even small mistakes like that can make a big difference, especially when these guys know how to deal some deeps. So who knows what they're gonna pick for the next map. They do once again have a map choice. It cannot be the same map though. So they will have their choice to see if they want to spread it out again or stay in the LSD 3.0's face. If they decide to stay in their face though, they're really going to have to be a little bit sharper with their CC, because as we've seen in that last game, letting an LSD 3.0, especially Luminosity's LSD 3.0, can definitely kill the dream. So we're going to send it back to the casters. Let's see what this next map is.
All right, thanks again so much, Bajira. We don't actually have a map choice yet. They're actually just sitting and thinking about it and really sort of debating amongst themselves which map they may actually want to go for. Personally, I think maybe Lordaeron might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think for this setup, Lordaeron might be the choice. But again, they are going against Luminosity, which did qualify as our #1 seed. We did see in the past couple of weeks that Vanguards has been playing his Hance Shaman a whole lot and actually reached #1 on the ladder shortly before last qualifier.
Yeah, so we do actually have a map choice, and I'm a little bit surprised by this one. They've chosen Tiger's Peak. And given how the match on the sewers went, there are a lot, not quite nearly as many, but there are a lot of little line of sight blockers on Tiger's Peak.
I think Tiger's Peak is going to let Shifty play. It'll let Shifty do what Shifty does well. We saw it in every single opener that he wasn't sitting behind the pillar. He wasn't hiding in stealth waiting, you know, kind of worried about getting thrown out of stealth. The big thing for him is being that initiator of the CC. He wants to start the chain onto the enemy healer with that Cyclone, you know? He wants to stand in their face. And with this map, because there's so many little LOS opportunities and the dual levels of the little gazebo areas or the patios, that he can use those small pillars to his advantage for CC, or to LOS CC, and that might be what he's thinking in this case.
Yeah, definitely. These are all very, very valid points as usual, but the match will be starting here very, very shortly. We have just loaded into Tiger's Peak. There are no comp swaps. Both teams are playing the same comps that they played last time around. So that will be Dream Team on the left playing that RMD, and Luminosity on the right playing LSD 3.0 with Shamgards, Maldiva, and Danny Carey. Of course, Dream Team being composed by Snuts, Sam, and Shifties. And these players, I just have to take a moment and say, every single one of these players has been performing brilliantly.
Oh, they really have.
This entire time.
All right, out of the gates. We're going to watch Shifty out of the gates because I want to see how he handles this map specifically, especially with what happened in the last two maps where he kind of didn't get that opener that he wanted to. He really tried to initiate that CC. As you can see, he's going to get those hots up. He's going to run straight at him in stealth, so he is going to go for that same play as he knows he can't be hit by that hurricane or things will be in trouble because he's in the center of the map by himself. Okay, he's playing opposite of where his team is coming in, which is really smart because he went with them the last time. But now you can see this is exactly what I was talking about. Although he's not able to initially start the CC, look at that fear tossed onto him right away. Maldiva instantly detecting that he's out of stealth and hits that CC.
Yeah, and Dream Team actually, they were not able to get anything even resembling an opener off that time. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Snuts shadow stepped in, but immediately was put into a bash. There may have been a hurricane in there that I didn't see or something that pulled him out of that right away. So Dream Team does not have their opener, and even when they did get openers before, they were having a lot of trouble with it. However, Shamgards taking a lot of damage, does get the Iron Bark, as well as has already used his Shamanistic Rage. So they are still able to put a whole lot of damage into him. However, Luminosity once again turning it back around here right away, actually forcing Sam to pull away a little bit, forcing Snuts to try to get back out of line of sight over here. Snuts may actually, no, excuse me, I thought for a second he was going to go for a re-stealth, but he just went around the pillar for a second, probably to stop a cast from Maldiva, and then went right back in.
The positioning dominance of Luminosity on this map already is astounding compared to Dream Team. They basically played Dream Team where they wanted them to play. You know, Maldiva was sitting behind the pillar so that he couldn't have much setup. Oh, it looks like they're going to force a Sham Rage out of Sham Guards right there because Danny Carey was in that Cyclone right there, still taking a lot of damage. He's going to gate away with Danny Carey. Snuts did hit Danny with that silence with the Garrote, so Sham Guards again is going to be bombed instantly after the Shamanistic Rage fades as Danny Carey is also in. Wow.
Nice.
Nice. With the deep freeze follow-up and that Dream Team just doing such a great job. The second I said that that Luminosity was playing so well and forcing Dream Team to play how they want, they turned it right around onto them. And I'm glad that they went for Sham Guards instead of Maldiva that time.
Yeah, definitely. And that was just some very, very intelligent CC choices coming out of Dream Team there. They, it seemed like earlier on, they kind of tried to throw everything at the opener, and what was happening was Danny Carey was able to get the trinket at the right time. Like, he just knows the right time to trinket in the opener versus an RMD. So he was able to trinket off the blind, trinket off the deep freeze, whatever it was, and they would be able to survive as a result of that. So by not getting that opener in this match, they actually still had their deep freeze, their cyclones, their polymorph, all of that was off of DR, and all of that was still available, and they were able to just go, all right, well, we got Sham Guards kind of low anyway, so let's just keep hitting him. Oh, we have all of the CC available that we can throw after Danny Carey, and Danny Carey just was not able to actually cast a healing spell for a good, like, 10, 15 seconds.
Oh, no,
there.
It was great. The bomb landed at the exact moment when the Shamanistic Rage fell. It was great plays by Dream Team, which is going to tie it up 2-2.
Yep. So we will be moving into a Game 5 here of this best of 5 between Dream Team and Luminosity. Let's head back over to Bajira, and here is breakdown of this next match.
I cannot get enough of these awesome plays the Dream Team is making today. So, as the casters mentioned, they did not get their ideal RMD opener once again, and their positioning was a little bit off. Now, the interesting thing about that play is that they didn't force it. In that first game that we saw, where their opener was a little bit different, they tried to force it anyway. They said, okay, well, we didn't get exactly what we were looking for. Let's, use our abilities anyway. This time, it was like, that didn't get what we needed. Let's chill out. Let's work on our positioning. And they unleashed the entire RMD arsenal onto Luminosity. So what you saw there is that even though they used their CC so well, I want to talk a little bit about the defensive usage. So the Iron Bark, the full Iron Bark duration, lasted, kept Sham Guards around 50% health. As soon as the Iron Bark ended, Sham Rage, the full Sham Rage duration, kept them around, 30%, 25%. Then came the Smoke Bomb, just to fill out the CC that was being unleashed by the Dream Team. So at the end of that, Sham Guards, despite using cooldowns very, very well, fell down once again to the Dream Team, which is going to bring this current series to a 2-2 tie. This next game decides who has a guaranteed spot at the Americas Regionals. This is going to be epic. We've seen both teams, they're able to play well. They're able to counter each other's strategies. They've learned a lot already in this tournament environment. And you have to imagine they've played each other before, out on the ladder and stuff. So these guys are familiar with each other, both outside of today, but especially in the tournament environment. Everything is on the line right now. I would be more than surprised if any of these guys are feeling any nerves at this point. Rather than nerves, I bet there's just raw determination, raw, channeling their skill, exactly what they need to do. There's nothing in their minds. There's no hesitation. They're going to go out there and they're going to try their absolute best to claim that guaranteed spot at the Americas Regionals. Now, keep in mind, though, that even if the raw determination doesn't lead them to victory this time, they still have a chance to play for it. So in that 3rd and 4th place match. So these guys are playing beautifully. Every team here can, it could be argued that they deserve a spot in America's Regionals. It's just up to them to prove that they've got what it takes in a tournament environment to make that happen. Either way, cannot wait to see what these guys bring out in this next match. Now, I know that they're taking some extra time to deliberate. These guys, as much as they are raring to go, to hone their skills, to use everything they've got, put their hearts on the line. They also want to make informed decisions. These are not players who are new to tournaments. We know Luminosity Gaming has played countless GCD TV tournaments. They've been in the Qualifier Cups as well. Same thing with the Dream Team. Snuts is a veteran player at multiple classes. These guys are not rushing anything. There is passion, there's the will to win, there's the drive, but they're not taking anything too hastily. They want to make sure that they've got their team in the right mindset. They want to make sure they've got their strategies down. I think a big thing that the RMD Dream Team learned from last game is to not force it. They've got their setup. If they're not going to be able to unleash the full setup, you don't have to force it. Wait for it. These guys, they can still do plenty of damage as a rogue and a mage. But that being said, Luminosity Gaming, they know what needs to be done. They know they need to disrupt that. If they are able to disrupt the opener, if they are able to disrupt the setup, it's going to give them that much more time to enforce their strategy on the Dream Team. Best way to find out what's going to happen in this 2-2 tie is to get into this last game, which will decide who has the guaranteed spot and moves on to the Americas Regionals. Let's do this. Back to the casters.
Thanks again, Bajira. And yeah, absolutely. Whoever wins this match, because we are tied 2-2 between Luminosity and Dream Team, whoever wins this is going to regionals, where they will get a minimum of $2,000, but they still have a chance to play out for that $50,000 first prize, as well as, of course, the spot at BlizzCon later on. So this is a very, very important match for both teams. We do have a map choice. Luminosity has chosen Blade's Edge Arena, and I like this map choice. If we saw, they can do a lot of the same sort of stuff on this map that they were doing in Sewers earlier, because there's so many ways for them to get out of line of sight, pull back, be defensive for a second, heal themselves back up, and then go out again and force Dream Team into a position that they don't want to be. So I'm really excited for this match. Again, whoever wins this is going to regionals. This is game point between Luminosity and Dream Team.
All right, now as the gates open, let's see if Snuts and Semifinals can make something happen. Looks like they're creeping under the bridge to try to find their target, which is going to be Danny Carey, who's actually playing right on top of his other members, who does come out of stealth, knowing that he needs to get those hots back up. As we even see the healing rain being tossed down, Snuts is going to immediately start onto Shamguards, which forces a Sham Rage instantly because of that sap onto Danny Carey.
Yeah, they have managed to force the Sham Rage. However, they aren't able to do too much in the way of damage just yet. Shifty now caught into that bash for just a second, having to go ahead and bark skin as well. So it looked like he was taking a little bit of almost like incidental damage. The spread pressure out of Luminosity, it's kind of hard to tell who they're even focusing on just yet. Looking like Shamguards is actually spending most of his time on Snuts at the moment, but Shifty and Samayam are still taking a bunch of damage as well. Looking like Dream Team is turning it around onto Maldiva, though, forcing him to duck over here out of line of sight. And that actually a capacitor stun landed on Snuts there for just a second, which is a nice move. Oftentimes you see those either die or you move away from them. So Shamguard's actually managing to land that. However, Snuts with that killing spree coming out, trying to do some damage, but his killing sprees just aren't getting through the heal over time effects on Danny Carey.
No, with that bark skin too is exactly how he lived. Now you can see Shifty trying to head out. Wow, this is a great play. Shifty trying to keep in position. Wow, but that does force a Nature Swiftness out, so he kind of was able to crowd control Danny Carey, but forced the Nature Swiftness out in that same moment, as but that did give Snuts the time to get back on top of him. So Shifty kind of in a little trouble here, but they are going to turn around onto Shamguards right now, as Shifty is still quite low, but that bomb prevents Shamguards from doing anything, which does also force the Shamanistic Rage. So we do see kind of a reset by Shamguards and Danny to try to get back playing in a defensive position, which puts Maldiva a little bit forward too, and he's going to gate back. So looks like we are going to see a little reset from both teams, as both Snuts and Samayam need to kind of pull back a bit and try to get that new opener.
Yeah, there was a nice move there from Shamguards, though, to actually use his Fire Nova there to keep Snuts in combat a little bit longer. Unfortunately, wasn't able to keep him in combat long enough to be able to avoid the re-stealth. Now he's moved in once again here and going after Shamguards, taking a whole lot of damage at the moment, down to 30% health, does get that Iron Bark. Now a bash onto Danny Carey, who may be in a little bit of trouble here. Shamguards, though, still taking a lot of damage. And the blind comes out onto Danny Carey. Is he going to trinket that? No, he's going to hold on to his trinket for now, choosing not to trinket that. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. He knows exactly when he has to trinket, and he will not waste that unless he has to. And of course, Luminosity is actually just looking perfectly fine. Even with all that CC onto Danny Carey, they came out of that at full health, and it's just now that Shamguards is starting to take some damage again here. Down to 30% health, but catching those heals from Danny Carey, and there's no CC for Danny Carey at this point, so they're just not able to keep that pressure going. But even without the CC, they're just doing so much damage to Shamguards right now that he actually has to pop his Shamanistic Rage.
Yeah, that killing spree with the adrenaline rush right before it was just such a long string of just raw damage put out onto Shamguards, and Danny wasn't able to heal through it. Shifty's still sitting quite low, and his positioning is he's just sitting he's basically the bait for Shamguards to try to push up. Sitting at half health right there as Maldiva gets sheeped with the Garrote onto Shamguards, which is going to force a Nature Swiftness and an Iron Bark out. So those are 2 big cooldowns. Shifty gets caught by that Cyclone by Danny Carey. As let's see if they can follow up. Yep, a second Cyclone coming out onto Shifty with a bash. I wonder if they're going to switch it onto him. That Bark Skin comes out. Lots of damage crashing into Shifty as he gets so low. And his positioning just put him in that spot that they could swap right to him.
Yep. And Dream Team immediately, they know there is no coming back from that, losing your healer with the entire other team at full health, so they just ducked out of that right away. And that does mean that Luminosity will take this series 3-2 over Dream Team, and we have our first qualifying team from this final North American Online Qualifier Cup. Of course, Dream Team is not out of it just yet, as we will have the 3rd and 4th place match where they will be facing off against the loser of our next round, which will be, I've lost the brackets in front of me.
So World of Warcraft versus Carlos Banditos.
Right.
So that is going to be an exciting match too, and you got to think Dream Team. That's 2 scary teams to face off against.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's head back over to Bajira at the analyst station to break it all down for us.
What an exciting ending to an awesome series right there. That was an amazing 2 clones into full bash swap onto Shifty's there. That was incredible. So one of the things I'd like to highlight about that match in particular is the fact that the RMD changed their strategy up a little bit. They tried to go after Danny Carey. Now, Resto Druids sometimes can be a bit of a weak link to a team. As we saw, Shifty's did get taken out there in that swap, but I can't get over that double clone swap. That was beautiful. But the thing about swapping to a Resto Druid is that Danny Carey, he's not just any Resto Druid. Danny Carey is known. He is notorious for being a slippery Resto Druid, escaping situations with a sliver of health. This guy knows how to kite out at some DPS, and he did just that. Now, they didn't just mercilessly train Danny Carey. They decided to swap to him and then swap back to Shamguards, which was, I think, probably a good move. I think some swapping of HOTS is definitely a good play, especially when you can use all those full HOTS, do some damage to Danny Carey, then put him in some full CC and make a swap. It worked out pretty well. The only problem is that when you are hitting Danny Carey, not only are you trying to hit the slipperiest Resto Druid in North America potentially, but you're also letting some free casting Warlock and enhancement Shaman damage stack up on your team. Now, that wasn't necessarily the deciding factor, but I do want to point out that that swap, double clone into Bash, was a setup that I think was a decision made because the whole team of Dream Team was about half health at that point. So you can't count out the fact that a free casting Warlock and enhancement Shaman are going to shred your team. Now, you also can't fault the Dream Team for trying to make some nifty plays in the last game of a tournament that's going to decide who is guaranteed to go to the Americas Regionals. But, not all risky plays go rewarded. So they are going to be relegated to the 3rd and 4th place match. So the dream is not dead for them yet. They still have a chance at this. But our next match is going to be Carlos's Banditos versus World of Warcats. Now,